Greetings from London. This is Maryum Sharif, and you're listening and watching to the Starburgers podcast. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest from Australia, my mentor and coach. But not only that, he's a CEO and founder of Wild Success. He's a very successful entrepreneur, and he's recently written a book, which we are going to talk about. It releases in a few days. But most of all, he's an exceptional human being. So I'd like to welcome Calvin.
Thank you so much. That's a beautiful introduction. I'm going to just copy that and I'm going to play that before I do every seminar from now on.
You're most welcome.
It's a tremendous honor for me to speak to you today. I'm so grateful for your time and us making this work. And you're such a beautiful soul. And I look forward to having a great conversation. So just thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. So let me just tell the audience a little bit of a backstory that I have been working with Calvin for the last probably few months during Ramadan as well. So if I disappeared in between, which is quite tough, but you know, when you want to do something, you'll make time for it. When you're on a new chapter and you're going through something, you are looking for new people. And I'm so blessed to have Calvin as my mentor and coach. I love the name first, Wild Success, the name of your company. And I love what it stands for, living life on your own terms. What does that mean to you? Can you explain to us?
Yeah, for me, it's a beautiful question. For me, it's about freedom. It's about freedom of what do I want to do with the day? What do I want to do with my life? How do I want to make an impact in people's lives? It's about having choices. It's about being able to use the gifts and talents that I've been given to try to make the difference in people's lives in the best possible way that I know how, and to shine light on beautiful things in the world through doing that. And for me, it's also about having incredible experiences and trying to share that with the people that I love. So I really try to build a life around that. And I'm very fortunate that part of that is also me sharing that with other people, which gives me tremendous joy. And hopefully for people like yourself and others that we have as clients and friends, that gives them permission to do the same, and hopefully some skills and resources and tools in the process.
It's been an incredible journey, and anybody that, you know, is looking to be on a path of self-discovery, I would say, more than anything, you've got to do something. So what was that initial point where it instigated your change?
Yeah, so it's again, a great question. My journey is a spiritual one and a painful one, and I really do feel like I've been guided in this life to be where I am today. I'm only 33, and so I found what I wanted to do very early. And so if we rewind the clock, effectively, I had a tremendous blessing. When I was 4 years old, my family moved from the United Kingdom, where I was born, to Australia. And they did that because they wanted to create a better life for me. And so we came over to here in WA. We didn't know anyone. My family knew nothing. We started again from scratch. And so that sort of spirit of adventure, willing to back yourself, go after and do things, take risks, I was sort of born into that world. And then I saw my family, my grandparents particularly, rebuild their lives, to go through the process of starting their own businesses and to strive for more. That was the environment that I was in. It's like, if you wanted more in your life, you do something about it. And I had a family breakdown where mum and dad separated, and that had a real sort of cultivating experience for me where I matured very quickly. And originally I thought I was going to get into law or acting. And I realized pretty quickly I didn't have the temperament for law and I didn't have the talent for acting, but I wanted to speak, and I was confident. I was passionate about how I wanted to communicate with the world. And when I was in law school, my partner, her mum, gave me a book for my 19th birthday, which was from Robin Sharma, the monk who sold his Ferrari.
Oh, yes.
And it was such a transformational book for me, because what Tony, my partner's mom at the time, what she was saying to me was basically, you're not on the right track, and I could tell you that, but a great coach, a great mentor doesn't tell you, shows you, or maybe gives you the opportunity to experience a new paradigm. And I read that book and I got the message. I dropped out of law school, and then I got into charity work. I got into nonprofit work, and I started traveling the world, doing micro enterprise and social enterprise projects, and then started eventually, got an incredible opportunity to get involved. So I watched a video when I was maybe 20, maybe 21, of Tony Robbins at a program called Date with Destiny. And he was in front of 10,000 people in this arena. And I just knew at that moment that was what I was here to do. And from there, I've just really tried to focus on taking steps towards that vision and that path. And so it came from a family and a childhood, which is if you want to make something happen in your life, you got to go after it. I saw my family struggle through the divorce process, my mom struggled particularly, and realizing that I wanted to sort of alleviate suffering from people. And I saw people around me struggle and suffer, and I wanted to try and take that away for them. And then I had a passion for wanting to make a difference in people's lives. And then I learned the skills to do that. And the rest is sort of history.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you've touched on two amazing role models and mentors, Robin Sharma and Tony Robbins. And also I'm from the same thought and from the same school of Tony Robbins of doing Date with Destiny, UPW and Mastery. So I've done that. When you kind of know somebody who speaks that language, because language is so important, and the way they compose themselves. And it's just something that becomes part of their DNA. So, thankful to him, obviously. But what makes Calvin, what makes a great coach? Because there's been so many, this huge explosion of coaches, even especially through COVID, and everybody decides that they're a coach. I've been in teaching and been counseling, and I just wanted to upgrade myself, my skills. But what makes a great coach? What do you think are the qualities of a great coach or a mentor?
Yeah, Maryum, what a great question that is. And I'm going to answer it in a couple of ways, if you'll allow me. I think the first thing to be aware of is that, I think great coaches have got great prior life experience. Coaching is really a label that you put on the capacity to take your experience in life and to share the knowledge, the wisdom, the insight with somebody else. Now, that doesn't have to be called a coach. That's a friend or a mother or a father or an advisor or a mentor or a teacher, right? That's what they do. That's really what that's about. So I think great coaches, when we talk about standing on the shoulders of giants, we talk about the people like Tony Robbins, for example, but really you're also standing on the life experience you've had. So if you've had a tremendous life experience and you've got the self-awareness and have done the work to realize, what did I learn from that? That makes you a tremendous coach because you can share based off your lived experience. So I talk about in our work when we're coaching coaches, we talk about two things, the art and the science. So the art is the holding of space. It's the conversation. It's the nuance. It's the ability to read subtext and context and sort of, feel the energy and hold space for a client. But then there's also the science of great coaching, which is having skills and tools and strategies to help people sort of navigate through the challenges and roadblocks. In my company, we teach neurolinguistic programming as one of those toolboxes. There's breath work and meditation and a whole heap of things. But you really want to have a beautiful balance of both of those to be a great coach. In saying that, we've worked with 200,000 people in 84 countries. Most of them are coaches or in some capacity are healers. The technical answer of what makes a great coach is what I just said, which is, the art and the science, and that's your skill set as a coach. But it's remiss of me to not address the elephant in the room, which is great coaches are not great coaches because of their technical skill, but in many cases, their business skill. Because to be a great coach, you've got to be able to make money from being a coach, because that gives you the longevity in the industry. If you're not making any money as a coach, then you're going to run out of road to be able to grow business. You're not going to have any money to reinvest in yourself. And I'll be very honest, when I started, I was 23 years old as a quote unquote life coach with little life experience.
Exactly, 23. So did anybody actually take you seriously?
No, we'll say they didn't, but I was smart about it. I knew that the reality is that getting people to invest into me if they were 40 or 50 wasn't going to happen. Right. So instead, my first business, it's now called Wild Success, but back then it was called Young and Wildly Successful. And I was just focused on young people. So my first couple of years from say 23 to 28 years old was really focused on helping people in their late teens to early 30s, because at that age, I was old enough to be able to be really exciting and charismatic and captivating to those people. My age was an asset to those people, not a liability. So I was very specific about who I worked with in the beginning because of my age. But now we work with people from 8 to 80. But back then it was very deliberate. So I wasn't a great coach back then, but I was a very highly paid coach because of my business skills, and that's allowed my coaching skill to grow over time. So I would say that, you know, you've got two jobs as a coach. One is to be a great coach, and one is to run a great coaching business. And if you fail to do the second job, you're not going to be able to do the first job for very long.
So what do you think is the best advice that you've been given in business and the worst advice?
Ooh, good questions. Look, the best advice, I would say for most people in the coaching space, if I was to sort of narrow the field of view, is that you get paid based off the value that you bring to a market. And
right.
that value is qualitative and quantitative. So I remember having an experience, 2016. I worked with a psychologist for the first time. I was going through a breakup in a relationship, and I wanted someone in my corner just to help me navigate that stage of my life. And I worked with an incredible psychologist, Dr. Jan Resnick. And Jan has written probably 50 books. He's a very well-regarded psychologist. And I remember sitting in his office and we're having a dialogue, and I'm just reflecting on this. And I think Dr. Jan at the time was charging, I think, about $450 a session, which is top tier money for a session. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy has been in this industry for longer than I've been alive. And he's written more books than I probably actually read. And he's at the top of his game. And yet, with no disrespect to Dr. Jan, I make more money and more impact than what he does every year. And the reason why wasn't because I was better technically, but because of the fact that I was leveraged in my delivery. I was touching thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people's lives at a given time in my seminars and events and conferences. And then also the ability for me to charge more money. I wasn't limited to $450 a session. I was selling $40,000 packages. And so for me, I think if you can get the idea that actually it's irrelevant of your talent, it's about how do you run your business model that matters. And so you get paid based off the value that you provide, but that's based off depth and breadth, basically. And if you can structure that, that makes a big difference. And I would start before you think you're ready.
Yes.
Don't hold a strong, like take the work seriously, but don't take yourself seriously. Put yourself out there, be willing to take risks. I think that's really important. And just realize that everything in business is a skills gap. And if you're not great at marketing or sales, you can learn those things. So that would be some of my best advice. In terms of some of my worst advice that I've received in terms of business, I don't know if I'm not sure I can really pick worst advice.
Something that someone told you and you just like, that didn't resonate with you and it didn't work.
Yeah, I remember when I was starting out in business, I had, and in coaching actually, before even I was in business, I had a tagline on the bottom of my email.
Right.
And the tagline read, "Do what stirs the heart, challenges the mind, and calls the body to action." And it was sort of like a mantra for me personally at the time in my life, but it was also designed to hopefully inspire someone that received an email from me to go, wow, okay, what's, stirring the heart, challenging the mind, and calling the body to action.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. And I had a very senior business mentor. I didn't know directly, but was a friend of a friend, received an email in a chain from me basically, and sent me an email just scathing in the criticism, basically saying, look, you're never going to be successful posting motivational quotes, and this is all rubbish. And he was from just a different time, right? And for him, I'm sure he saw that as just being young millennial wishy-washy rubbish, and basically said you're never going to amount to anything by doing that. You've got to get more serious about it. And I took not that I took offense. I took to heart what he said because it affected me, because I really respected this man. But on the same token, I realized, hey, this is me. Like that line is me. I'm posting, I'm being myself. And I think in the world that we live in today, the worst thing that you could do is try to be what you think people want you to be, as opposed to trying to just be yourself and just being yourself. Because if you have the courage to do that, you're going to endear so many people. And so you've got to have the courage to be disliked. So that's probably the worst advice that I received. Don't sacrifice your goals and who you are for the good opinion of others.
Talk about your very exciting book. And it's not your first book. Is it the second? I believe. Yes. Wild Success. How many? Sorry.
4 books.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's the fourth. The cover of the book, was it in Dubai?
Yeah, in Abu Dhabi.
Oh, Abu Dhabi. Yeah. I love it. I was like, that looks familiar.
Yeah. I think it was the empty quarter. We were in Anantara, Laram or something. I can't remember what the pronunciation is, but just about an hour outside of Abu Dhabi. It was an incredible resort. And I didn't mean for that to be the photo of the book. We just had a family photo shoot, and I got some photos done for me while I was there. And then it just felt right. That was the cover, and so that's what we ended up going with.
It's a nice feel. It's like it seems like I can, by looking at the cover, because I love obviously image, and it's relaxed. I feel like you're just poised and you're just like enjoying life. You're just like calm and peace. And I think that's what I get, that you're just good. Like, yeah, I'm in a good place. Like, you're not like spiking the pose, or it's not businessy or corporate. It's just like, I'm doing my thing. That's what I get. That's what I get.
That's it.
So what is the book about? It's about designing and transforming certain areas of your life.
Yeah, correct. So the book is Wild Success, and the sort of the theme of the book, if you will, is how do you break through limitations and live the life of your dreams?
What made you write this book? What is different to the rest of the 3 books? What is different about this book now?
Yeah, this book is really once this book is released, put it this way, once this book's released, which is coming this week, I'm only going to say that I've written 1 book, because this book is the book. This is the first 3 books that I wrote were in collaboration with other authors that were about different topics, whether it be breakthroughs or living an entrepreneurial lifestyle. And they're perfect for the time that they were. But this book is a collection of my work. Really, I've attempted to take 10 years of experience working in human transformation and put it into a book that someone could pick up off the shelf and change their life with. And so it's really a reflection of who I am, of my work, of the clients that we've had the pleasure of serving and supporting. And for many coaches, they'll find it a tremendous resource. And if you're not a coach, but you're someone that wants to improve your life, then hopefully they'll be able to take the principles and use it in their lives in a meaningful way. So just had a reverb there. So the book is basically our methodology. So when we talk about wild, it's wellness, income, love, and lifestyle and direction. So holistic success. And then we've got a 3-step process that we take clients through that they can use no matter what's going on in their life to turn their life around and achieve success. And so that's what the book goes through. It's basically a breakdown of what that is and some tremendous resources to help them practically to kick some goals.
So somebody who's going through some turmoil in life, they're changing chapters, they can pick up the book. And then can you give us a nugget of wisdom from your book that would that you think that is quite profound in the book and poignant? So maybe we take
of course.
Let's take love, because it seems to be a very hot topic that entrepreneurs and lifestyle and business is great, but sometimes we as entrepreneurs, for some reason, I don't know why, Calvin, that entrepreneurs, they're not successful in their love life. So can we take that stance and maybe look at love?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know. I'd love to dive into that. That's a great opportunity for us. So the methodology that we teach is 3 parts: compelling vision. So what do you want? Internal alignment, let's make sure that we're fully committed to it. And then strategy, a proven strategy, which is what's the best path to success. And this can be overlaid in any area. But if we look at the lens of love, first, it's really valuable to consider what's the current status quo. The statistics are pretty overwhelming, which is that about 50% of relationships currently end in divorce. And thankfully, that number is going down. However, when you look at the data, what it actually tells us is that less and less young people are getting married in the first place. So when you look at the long-term separation of couples, even if they're not married, it's higher than 50%, but most people are just not committing to getting married anymore because they know how difficult it is. So that's pretty terrible.
Yes.
Then you build on that and you look at, well, what's the chances the second time? Well, if you have a second marriage, it's 65%, and a third marriage, it's 75% chance of divorce. So it gets worse the more you do it. And obviously in this world that we live in today of tremendous temptation and global access, it's very difficult to keep that relationship going with the pressures and stresses of life. So That's not a great inspiring message. So what we like to think about is, well, how do you go about changing that? So step one is, well, what's your ultimate vision for a relationship?
Right. Okay.
And I meet a lot of people that say, I'm happy being single. And I go, look, I'm sure you are happy being single. But on the same token, if you had a vision of your ultimate dream life, it probably is not you being alone. The ultimate version of your life, if you could have it the way you want it, is probably you happily ever after, sailing off into the sunset with a lover, right? So if that's not happening and you're not taking action to that, maybe it's because you just don't believe in that vision anymore. And maybe you don't believe it's going to work for you, or maybe you're hurt, right? Emotions are a big thing. So the first thing that we work with clients on is to say, well, what's the vision that you have for your future? The second thing, once you're clear on that vision, people often ask this question, which is, how do I find my dream partner? The question shouldn't be, how do I find them? But rather the question should be, how do I attract them? Because what I've come to realize is if you focus on being the very best version of yourself, you'll attract the very best version of the partner that you want to have. So, like attracts like. Birds of a feather flock together. If nothing else, energetically, there's a big impact on that. So I would say to you, go, well, what do you want your dream partner to be like? Get clear on who that person is. And then ask yourself this question: what's the version of their dream partner? And then how do you work on becoming that version so that you attract your soulmate, but you're at the same energetic level? So that would be number one. Number two is then internal alignment. Beliefs, emotions, behaviors, focus, and values. You want to make sure, first and foremost, from a relationship perspective, that you're not just going after somebody that looks the part. Obviously, that's so important, but values.
Yes.
Are they family orientated? Do they value work and they have a great work ethic? Are they in a spiritual connection, if that's important to you? Do they value health and fitness? And are they willing to sacrifice for something that's more important to them than the short term? These values are really critical. You want to make sure that long-term compatibility is based off values, shared values. They don't have to have shared interests, but it's shared values. That's important. And then you've got to do the emotional work. So, if you've been hurt in the past, that's going to manifest. A lot of people go, I don't know why I keep attracting the same type of partner, because you haven't resolved the emotions. You keep attracting the same people. And I live this. So when my parents separated, I mentioned to you, we had a bit of a rough childhood in that regard. I didn't make this decision consciously, but something really interesting happened. I started to have a pattern of behavior, and I only discovered this a decade later, but I started to have a pattern of behavior where every friend that I had and every partner, girlfriend that I dated, every one of them had one thing in common, which was that their dad was not in their life.
Right.
Yeah, it was staggering, right? So my first girlfriend at high school, Jade, she had never met her father. Shahar, my second girlfriend, her dad had left when she was 2. I had a long-term partner and a fiance, Cherish, and her father, she barely spoke to him at all. My best friend in primary school, his dad committed suicide. My best friend in high school, he never met his father. My best friend in university, his father had committed suicide. My first business mentor, his father had killed himself. So I had this experience where everybody, like I'm talking dozens of close people that I was close with, everyone that was close to me in both a male and female relationship, every single one of them to a person had daddy issues. Now, I don't know if it was me that had the daddy issues or they or both, but it was pretty evident to me that up until my mid-20s, that there was a dynamic issue that I had with my father that once I worked through that, by the way, it was so amazing. The people that I was close to, they just sort of shifted. My relationship ended up transforming. I'm no longer with that person, obviously. And I ended up falling in love and marrying the woman of my dreams, my wife today. And she's got an amazing relationship with her father. And I've got an amazing relationship with Steve as well. And I never would have been attracted to my wife today, and energetically, if nothing else, even physically, if I didn't do the work of healing the trauma from my own life as well. So, now I just don't have those same dynamics anymore. Most of the people I hang around with today have actually got great relationships with their parents. It's just a different thing. So I think that's really significant in terms of relationships.
Mashallah, I mean, you have a beautiful little girl who is
thank you.
adorable, and another one on the way. Congratulations.
She's magnificent.
What has being a parent taught you in life? Big lessons.
Huge lessons. I mean, geez, you
The contrast of parenting and business. Is there any similarities?
yes, there is. There is a lot of similarities. Yeah, there is. There's ultimately it's all about responsibility, right? And I'm very fortunate in that from a young age, I took a lot of responsibility. And then I got into my own business very early in my life. And so I had a lot of responsibility anyway. So it wasn't a huge shock to the system to be responsible for a child because I was already very responsible anyway. If you've gone through your life really not being responsible and then you thrust on having children, you could see why that's such a huge challenge for a lot of people because it's a massive shift in terms of priorities. Alila has been magnificent for us. She has, she's taught me so much about just enjoying the simple things of life. Kids are so tremendously present. And I was talking to my wife about the book launch actually on last night. And she says, how are you feeling about everything? And I said, well, I feel good. I'm excited. We've got 1,200 people, 10 countries. And so I think that's going to be good. But I don't know, in business, you've got numbers and data and KPIs and targets and stuff, right? I don't know if it's going to be enough, right? We've got ambition. So we might get there, we might not get there. But I said, at the end of the day, Alila just doesn't give a shit if dad's a global best-selling author or not. Yeah. So she's going to wake up on Monday morning and still love her dad. And I'm still going to love my little girl, irrelevant of if anyone buys the book or not, right? And when you realize that, you realize how little most things matter in your life because the things that do matter are just huge. So I've always been, and apologies for swearing, but I've always had a fuck yes or a no mentality. So if something's not a fuck yes, if it's not an amazing opportunity, I don't really care. Yeah. And when you have kids, I've realized that the amount of fucks that you give to a lot of things just disappear because they're super important. Anything that's not, that doesn't really matter that much. And my work has taken a different meaning now. Now I'm not working because, of course, I want to make plenty of money, but now I'm not working because I want to make more money. Now I'm really working because I want my daughter to see her dad doing what he was put on the planet to do. And I think that's the best lesson I can give to her. Beyond the finances, it's that.
So Calvin, the book launch is on Sunday, the 23rd. It's 8 a.m. in the UK. It's a little bit early for us, but however, we'd love to get involved. What do we do and where do we go?
Yeah, so we're having two parties for the book, one in Australia during the day for me, and then my evening, your morning in the UK. So for everyone in UK, it's 8 a.m. And basically what we're doing is we're doing a live event, but via Zoom for all of our clients in the UK, where we get to celebrate the principles of wild success. And it's really, it's a mixture between a seminar and a party. So we're going to be going through some of the best principles of the book. I'm going to be diving deep into some of the best things in the book that I haven't shared with anyone before. We're going to be sharing it at the summit. Which is going to be amazing. And then because of our partnership that we have with Amazon in the UK, everyone can actually grab a copy of the book. It's normally, I think, about £20, but during the summit itself, we're going to be giving everyone access to get the copy of the book. I think it's 99p, so less than £1, which is amazing. But that's on the summit. So our team's put together an incredible pack. It's about $1,200, £700 worth of value. You get obviously a discount of the book. You get a manual that we put together to go alongside the book, to be a workbook, if you will. And then there's a ton of extra bonuses and prizes and gifts from me and the team to say thank you. So if anyone wants to join us for that, it's free of charge. If they just go to wildsuccessthebook.com, they can register for the summit. They can get access to everything, get access to all the emails. And if they can't make the summit with us live, they can still register, grab a copy of the book, and we'll send all the gifts out to them as well if they register.
Right, that's wonderful. Well, I'm going and I'll put the link in. So, Calvin, I use styling for helping people to become self-aware. It's more of an act of self-awareness because maybe we've put on our jeans and they're a little bit tight. And so you have to question yourself, well, did I eat too much? Am I putting on weight? Am I bloated? Is it the time of the month? Is it the fact that I've shrunk the jeans in the tumble dryer and they're tight?
It's always that you shrunk the jeans. It's never that you put on weight.
always. Being a foodie, I would never admit. But for me, style is such a it's an act of self-awareness. And I always say that, getting to know who you are but a lot of people might want to know that, yes, they've got to do something, but how do you encourage or ignite self-awareness for yourself?
What a great question. And I love that you use style as a tool for that. I think that's fantastic. And particularly for the women that listen, it's interesting, the science around this. Most women, I think it's over 80% of women will need to try clothes on before they purchase them because it's about how it makes them feel, right? So that's very interesting. So one of my favorite quotes is that awareness precedes change, that we need to have an awareness in order to need to change something. We're not going to naturally change stuff that we're not conscious of. So what then precedes awareness is presence of mind. It's creating space, because we've all had times where you've just chucked stuff off, you've rushed out the house. In fact, I did this yesterday. I chucked some stuff on, I rushed out the house, and I didn't realize I had my jumper on back to front until I got in the car and I realized what's going on. And then I changed, right? Because I was so busy being busy, I was out of presence, and therefore I didn't have the awareness until a little bit later on. So, it's first and foremost trying to create a sense of presence in your life so that you create space for awareness. Right. And then that awareness can precede the changes that you're looking to make. And part of that might be as well reflection. So when we learn new things, we learn 4 ways. We learn by doing, experiencing, thinking, and reflecting. But often, as high achievers and highly successful people out there making things happen, blazing a trail, we're focused on where we're going, not where we've been. And I think it's valuable for us to take stock of what season am I in my life? Obviously we have trends in fashion and in style, but we have trends and seasons in our life as well. And how you have dressed may be appropriate for the phase of life that you're in, but not the phase of life you're heading into now. And so it's an opportunity for us to take a moment for ourselves and create awareness around that, and then go from that awareness, who do I want to be now, and consciously choose who's going to show up. And obviously that reflects in our clothes, but it reflects in every choice that we make.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think because a cluttered wardrobe is, a cluttered life. And I can usually
100%.
determine somebody's wardrobe and find out exactly, what's going on with their life. I can just tell. I'm one of those people. So
absolutely.
Thank you so much for the interview. Is there something that you'd like to leave us with as a last message for our audience? Something about 2023. We still have the rest of the year left. Is there something that you can tell us that would help every certain person?
Yeah, well, there is. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to be on the podcast. It means the world to me. So thank you for that. And I want to try and tie this message into what your podcast is all about, which is about style, right? And what does that mean for people? I think that the world needs more people that are unapologetically themselves. And I listened to an interview just recently with a Stanford professor. Actually, I think maybe it was from Cornell, I forget. But he said that the number one regret that people have in their lives when they're on their deathbed is that they lived life according to somebody else's vision for them, rather than living life on their own terms. Yeah. And, we're in 2023. We're nearly in this. We're just tipped to halfway of the year. If the first half of the year you take stock and you look at your life and go, actually, I haven't been living for me. I've been living by somebody else's rules. I've been doing whatever everyone else wants me to do, whether that be how I live or even just as simple as the clothes that you wear. You've got to have the courage to be unapologetically yourself, to create your own style, to be your own person. And that's style in terms of how you dress and how you live. And so I think that, if you can take that message on board, if there's one thing I want everyone to have, is that concept of knowing, hey, life will contract or expand to the demands you put on it. And if you're willing to live life on your own terms and to say, hey, this is who I am, this is what I want to provide to the world, this is what I want in this world, then you can go out there and have it. It's really not that difficult. But the hardest thing is the courage to say that you want something more and be willing to do the work required to make it happen. So we always say, be bold. When in doubt, be bold. And I just want people to swing for the fences, to go after their dreams. I think the world's a better place when we do that.
I would also encourage anybody else who is looking to probably discover themselves, to master their own selves, because understanding ourselves is probably the most important. And sometimes we lose our way. Even myself, a very confident entrepreneur. And then, there are times where we lose ourselves. So I would also encourage not only to get Calvin's book and books, but also if anybody's interested, that definitely encourage yourselves to, learn about life coaching, learn about yourself and what you're good at and what you're here to do, because that's the most important, I think. But I feel so good. I've come back to not just being myself, but like I feel like I'm more elevated. I feel like more ambitious. I feel like I'm back on track on doing things that I want to do. So, and I think so many people have said to me, "Oh my God, you're looking really good," or "Wow," and it's just I think my energy has changed. For me, it's all about energy. So
It
my
is
energy
100%. Well, they say confidence is sexy, right? So you're glowing. It's beautiful just to see people that are passionate, that are making things happen. That's it. That's energy's infectious. And I'm so proud of you. I think you're doing an incredible job. We're so grateful to have you as a client, as a friend, and just I'm grateful for this opportunity as well. So just keep doing the great stuff you're doing.
I'm just looking forward to everything.
So, well, I can't wait to see you on Sunday morning.
Yes, absolutely. I wish you all the success, wild success for the book, and for the future.
Thank you, Maryum. All the best. Bye.